Welcome to Financial Focus, brought to you by GulfCoast Financial Services founder and CEO, John Kuykendall. John and his team of financial, legal, and tax professionals have been providing North Florida savers and investors sound, comprehensive financial guidance for over 30 years, helping you to achieve important life and planning goals. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and tune in for more Financial Focus by visiting GulfCoastFinancial.net.
And welcome into the program. This is Financial Focus with John Kuykendall, founder and CEO of GulfCoast Financial Services. GulfCoast has been named Best of the Best in Financial Services 8 years straight and running by the readers of the Lake City Reporter, and they have been serving North Central Florida savers and investors, helping to craft and create and then execute the plans to help you achieve your financial goals for more than 30 years, ladies and gentlemen. Many depend on their services for helping to make financial progress. And John, a lot goes into making that financial progress, a lot of different elements that we have been talking about throughout the different episodes of this financially focused podcast series. And today going to be no exception, a very important topic on today's edition of the program.
That's right, Peter. I think family planning is one of the main things we can do. As we go through life, we have different stages. We're in college, we're by ourselves, and then we get married, and then we have a job and responsibilities. Then we have kids, and then, the kids grow up, and then we've got college, and then all of a sudden we're at home by ourselves, and then we have to take care of our parents, and then, the grandkids. And so as we evolve through these different stages, the one thing we want to do is make sure that we have enough money at the end so that we're not dependent on our kids. I can't think of a single client that I have that's ever told me that their plan is to live with their kids. No. It just doesn't work.
No. And many times that's actually firsthand experience in reverse. As we know, John, this generation is being called the sandwich generation because they are simultaneously trying to raise and launch the kids or grandkids. And at the same time, a lot of them are also providing that support for aging parents. And so that has placed many of us in kind of a difficult situation in not only providing that support, but making our own financial progress to prevent that from being our future reality.
Well, that's right, Peter. I mean, it is the sandwich generation. A lot of the people that I talk to, they are taking care of their grandkids. They're taking care of their kids still because as jobs change, as jobs have gotten tight, medical illness, other things, it just, life happens. And so we want to be prepared as much as we can. And that's one reason that, as we go through these steps, that I think the most important thing that a family can do is budget. Early on, when we first get married, if we have a budget and we stick to it, then we're going to know where our money's going. We're going to know how much we've got coming in. And budgeting is always the most important part of any financial plan.
And part of that budget, obviously, John, allocated to health insurance or to disability insurance or to life insurance and eventually to long-term care insurance, which can be one of the most costly events over the course of our lifetime.
That's right. And so we've got a plan for all these things. We've got a plan for the health insurance, the health costs we're going to need. Health costs are going up. But inflation since 1970, I found an article, it was actually in AARP magazine, that inflation since 1970 is up 659%.
Wow.
Do you realize that in 1970, you could go to Yankee Stadium and get a box seat for $4? Today, that
can't even get a hot dog for that today.
No, can't even get the hot dog. Can't even get the Coke, man. Today, that same seat's $265.
Wow,
that's an increase of 6,525% since 1970.
Well, so I know putting 4 tires on my car when I first started driving cost less than putting 1 tire on my car today.
Well, it probably cost as much as your whole car was.
Yeah, just
back
about
in the day.
Just
So,
about.
I mean, you get sticker shock all the time. In fact, I was talking to a person this morning whose husband is in the VA nursing home. She's living alone. She's moved here to Lake City. And she was telling me how much more everything is costing. Not so much that her housing costs have gone up. It's just that everything that she buys costs more. So we are seeing this inflation affect us, and especially those that are on tight budgets, those that are living on Social Security alone are really getting killed. I mean, we're getting a huge increase this year, but it's not going to be enough to keep up with inflation in the long run if we don't do something about it. So we have to plan. Then we have to plan for higher costs. That's one of the reasons that we need to do budgeting, and we need to be saving for retirement. But also, Peter, if we're a young family, we got to be saving for college, because college costs have gone up 1,634% since 1970, and they're continuing to go up 25% a year. I mean, a four-year school right now, 1 year, is $29,000. And if you haven't, that's over $100,000 for most, because I always told my parents it was a 5-year degree, even though it was a 4-year school. But you got to account for all of this inflation and all these things we're having. And when you talked about insurance, I think that's one thing that a lot of people overlook when they're doing their family planning. I just talked to my son this morning about adding an umbrella policy to his car insurance, because as we have an accident, that 25, 50, or 100, 300 you got, what that means is that's the maximum that the insurance company is going to pay.
Yeah.
And if you get sued for more than that, then you're going to have to make it up. And that's why the umbrella policy, which isn't all that expensive, is really important as we do our insurance planning. So we need to look at our deductibles. We need to look at our insurance planning. Life insurance is certainly important for young people. And we found now that it's even important for old people. And so if you're under 70, you can't find a better time to buy a life insurance policy than now.
Well, let's talk about all of these various stages as we are getting established, as we're working through our working career, as we are potentially providing that support for raising children and parents, and then trying to establish our own self-sufficiency into and throughout retirement and our lifetime. John, I'm a parent. I've got a 12-year-old, and in the circles that I talk to of other parents, I've had the conversation that I would do absolutely anything that I possibly could to promote my son's well-being and success. But at certain points in time, making sure that I am doing the best things for myself is doing the best things for my son's long-term prosperity and success. And I've likened it to flying on an airplane and the safety protocol speech that the attendants do before you take off, that if you are traveling with small children and there's trouble in the air and masks drop from the ceiling, make sure to secure your own mask before helping to secure the masks of the children that you're traveling with. It's not because we don't care about those children. It's because if we are not doing the best thing to put ourselves in the most stable situation possible, then we're not serving to stabilize those loved ones and those children around us.
That's right. We need to make sure that we have a reserve fund that's going to take care of the emergency, so that we don't have to go to credit card, 6 months of cash, set aside salary, so that would be our emergency fund. We need to make sure that we're saving for retirement. I mean, retirement, the sooner we get started saving for retirement, the more we're going to have and the less we're going to have to put up over time. It's just a matter of fact, thanks to compounding of interest. So those are all things that we need to do. Debt reduction. We need to not have any debt other than our house. Any kind of debt that we want is, there's all, we said on this show, there are needs and wants. And, I want everything, but I only need a certain amount.
Yeah. Well, especially with the higher interest rates these days.
Yeah.
At most any other debt besides the mortgage is costing us significantly more.
Well, I just saw on my computer earlier an ad, and a camper van is now 6.24% interest. They were 3% not more than 90 days ago. So interest is going up, rates are going up. It's a season when we don't understand. A lot of people haven't had to live through higher rates. And so, we can't afford to keep a lot of debt at a higher rate. So what we need to do is make sure that the things we want, we put off or we save for, and we just get the things that we need. And the main thing, as you said, is we have to plan for the future. We have to build up those retirement accounts. We have to work on those Roth retirement accounts. We need to do the best job we can to maximize our savings. And at the same time, we need to make sure that our accounts are earning, that we don't have accounts spread all over the place, and that the cost and the fees of those accounts are actually costing more than we're making. So, a good approach is to start early, do that income plan that we talked about, which analyzes taxes, everything. And then as we go through life, we continue that plan. But the sooner we can start on an income plan, the better off we're going to be in the long run, and the more productive we're going to be, and the higher our returns are going to be, Peter.
Again, talking with John Kuykendall, founder, CEO of GulfCoast Financial Services, about the need for and the essential steps in family planning and protection. As a guy, I think the number one financial goal that I have is to provide for my family and my loved ones. And there are essential things. I think that's probably anybody. Ladies, gentlemen, moms, dads, any kind of family member. A lot of the steps that I take financially, John, are to provide for my family's comfort and well-being financially. And so we've mentioned a couple of different things, and I want to get into some specific steps, but putting them all on a balance. Which one is the priority there, John? Retirement savings, college savings, getting out of debt? Which would you say is going to be of the utmost and highest importance and priority in providing that protection for our family?
Well, I think it depends on the stage of life you're in. If you're a young couple and you're just getting started, or you're into your 40s, then the first thing I want to do is budget planning. I want to make sure that I've got my budget down. I know what my financial goals are. I know what I'm trying to reach. In other words, I know that I want to retire at 65, and I'm going to save this much money to get there, and we're going to spend this much money each year. And we may not be able to go on that vacation to Aspen, but we can go to North Carolina to the mountains. So, those are the kind of things that we need to start with. We need to start with budget planning and projecting our goals, what we're really trying to accomplish, Peter.
Yeah. And we've talked about a few different types of insurance along the way as well. Mm-hmm. That provides an awful lot of protection against things that we hope never happen. And in fact, as we talked about the different types of insurance, the health insurance, the disability insurance, the life insurance, and then planning for retirement, it struck me that the only type of insurance that we ever really want to use is that income insurance that you talk about as part of the income plan.
Well, that's right. Those income annuities, everybody wants one of those because it turns on that lifetime income. But, in an early age, we need to if we're talking about taking care of our families, then I don't know of anyone that doesn't want to have enough life insurance so that if something happens to them, that their family's going to be taken care of, and they know their kids are going to be able to go to college, and they know that their wife's going to have enough income, or their spouse is going to have enough income coming to hire someone to come in and take care of the kids while they work or whatever. And so I think that's true at any age, though, because now that we know more about planning, we know that if an older person dies, an older couple, one of the spouses dies, we're going to lose 40% of the income because their Social Security is going to go down. So life insurance will help bridge that gap. And certainly it's one of the things that if we buy the right policy early on, it's one of those things that we can keep forever. So life insurance, I think, is very important. Nobody wants life insurance. And maybe we should rename it, Peter, to prosperity insurance or something.
Yeah. Continued support of income and quality of life insurance. But I know that there is a higher need for a larger amount of life insurance when we are younger, replacing an income, paying off debts, raising the kids and getting them to a certain stage in life. But I also don't believe, John, that the desire to provide that protection really ever goes away. And I think that on the day we retire, we may fool ourselves into believing that because we no longer are needing to replace income, maybe we've got our debts paid off, the children are raised, that we no longer need life insurance. But to me, that would provide a lot of additional confidence in spending our money freely on lifestyle throughout retirement, knowing that I'm going to leave my spouse protected with that additional life insurance, quality of life, and spending confidence insurance.
Yeah, too many people use the employer life insurance policies, and then when they retire, they're too expensive to keep. And so they feel like that, well, I was okay doing that because I really don't need the insurance now. But as you just mentioned, if we buy the right kind of policy, at some point in time, there's a way that the insurance cash value will continue the payments on the policy, and the policy won't lapse, and that coverage is always there. Or as we know from our planning, that now we can get tax-free income from a life insurance policy by borrowing against cash value. So I think there are a lot of ways that life insurance fits into a plan. It's just convincing people that it's what they it really makes a difference in the long run.
Well, again, talking about family planning, protection, quality of life, trying to support the values that we have for our family and their comfort and confidence in the standard of living. Insurance throughout several different phases can play an important role. I'm glad you mentioned and reminded us, John, about the loss of a stream of Social Security. I think that is an important element as well. And then, John, one of our greatest expenses, the potential for long-term care. And I think that is another element that we want to try to either insure against or figure out what our best plan of attack and approach to it is.
Yeah, Peter, if we've done a good job and if we've set aside enough income for us and we've got a good lifestyle set up for retirement, long-term care, or the cost of long-term care, which is also increasing, radically, then that could actually impact our plan for the spouse that doesn't need the care. And so we have to be careful. And one of the things is that, nobody wants to go to the facility. We'd rather have somebody come in and take care of us at home. And so that's what we try to provide with these alternatives that we talk about on our show, the annuities that have the long-term care riders, the life insurance that has the terminal illness or the long-term care riders. Those are all things that we can get today without having to buy a policy when we can afford it and then having it go up, every year. If it was available in Florida, there is no long-term care policy, as I know. We've got to go to those alternatives, but it's something that can derail your plan if you don't plan for it, because I know from a fact, having dealt with clients, that Medicaid, having the government take care of you, is not the solution, especially for the spouse that's not in the nursing home.
Yeah, nobody's ideal plan A is to become dependent on the government's minimum level of support and assistance. And I don't think anybody wants to put that kind of dependency on family members either. So we do need to formulate our own plan for that. Again, talking about that family protection that we want to provide from a financial aspect. And John, I am certain that there are other elements to this, but another big one that we have not mentioned so far, beneficiary designations and legal documents. Something as simple as a kind of one-time review and checkup or a one-time kind of event can put a lot of additional protection in place, can assure things go as planned, can take a lot of strain and potentially conflict off of our family.
Well, that's true. We need to make sure that our beneficiaries are spelled out. Under the Secure Act, we actually could pass a lot of liability on to our kids because they have 10 years to take that money out of our retirement accounts. and they have to pay taxes on it each year over the 10 years. So, that could create a huge tax burden for some of them as we leave this money to them as we pass on. But also, without having those designations, we have to probate, we have to do other things, and it's costly. Plus, not only that, at a time of grief and a time when people are mourning, we're putting more stress on them to make decisions that should have been made a long time ago. So if you have a special needs situation where you need to set up special money for a child or a loved one, then all that needs to be done ahead of time. We need, as we've said on our show many times, we need to have the estate documents, the will, the living will, the health surrogate form, and especially the power of attorney, so that those things can be passed on without having to go to an attorney and go to court. I'm dealing with a situation right now with a family member where everyone is passed on from the family. There was no will, and now the kids are having to probate this stuff. And I know that there's going to be a huge argument between the two siblings about how the money's divided, because there was nothing was specified anywhere and nobody made their wishes known. So, we're telling our clients to make sure they have all those documents I mentioned, and also go ahead and do their prepaid burial and get it out of the way. It's going to go up. I know my mother-in-law, she did hers in 1977. She passed away in 2020. And they had to go dust off her contract and said they really lost a lot of money on her. But, inflation is going to increase those. So let's make those decisions for our loved ones so they don't have to make it themselves.
A lot goes into these considerations, obviously, John, but you and your team at GulfCoast Financial Services are a resource there to help North Central Florida proactive savers, investors, planners have counted on you and your team for more than 30 years, and you continue to be that resource. If somebody wants to address the protection that they would like to provide for themselves, for their loved ones, for their family, if they would like to get that plan put together, I know that you offer the opportunity for a conversation and even the initial strategy session consultation to put that financial focused retirement income plan together. No cost, no obligation, a completely complimentary service there at GulfCoast Financial Services. And I know that you uncover a lot of these kind of holes in the planning or blind spots where people are leaving not only themselves, but their family and their loved ones exposed to some potential risks when you conduct those reviews.
Well, that's right, Peter. We did one this morning, and we came away with a spousal IRA because the lady could actually increase her amount she's getting from Social Security because she hadn't thought about that she was eligible for a spousal IRA. Also, we helped her with her husband's a retired veteran, and it's a second marriage. So we asked her what happens when he dies. She didn't know. And so those are the things we pick out. It's like a lot of our people we met. I met with a prospect the other day, a lady who came in, and she says, "Where have you been all my life?" Because we want to make sure that they understand all the loopholes. We've been there. We've done it. I have already been through it. And I think by having been through most of this stuff, it helps me losing a loved one, going through Social Security, going through Medicare. It helps me come up with plans and to look at everything objectively and help people.
Fantastic to have you and your team as the resource. And ladies and gentlemen, if you would like to have that conversation or to schedule a convenient time for a complimentary review, consultation, and to get your financially focused written retirement income plan put together, pick up the phone and give GulfCoast Financial Services, the team, a call. 386-755-9018. That is 386-755-9018. 386-755-9018. John, always a pleasure. Thank you for being here and providing yet another great edition with important information and fantastic perspective.
Thank you, Peter. Great to see you. Have a good week.
Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and tune in for more financial focus by visiting GulfCoastFinancial.net. The The information presented on this program is provided for informational purposes only, without warranty of accuracy, completeness, or suitability for a particular purpose. This program is not intended to be and does not constitute financial, investment, legal, or tax advice. This information is general in nature and not specific enough to be construed as advice. You should not make any decision based on the information presented on this program without independent consultation with an appropriately licensed professional or competent advisor. Investment in securities or the market involves a potential risk for loss of principal. Trading, therefore, may not be suitable for all listeners. Annuity guarantees are based solely on the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing company. Withdrawals of growth from annuities may be taxable as ordinary income in the year it is taken. Individuals should review contracts for specific details of the product's features and costs. Early withdrawals may subject the owner to penalties, fees, or taxes. John Kuykendall is registered with and securities are offered through Kovac Securities Inc., member FINRA SIPC, found online at www.kovacsecurities.com. Advisory services are offered through GulfCoast Financial Services Inc., a registered investment advisor in Florida. GulfCoast Financial Services Inc. is not affiliated with Kovac Securities Inc. or Kovac Advisors Inc. Past performance is not indicative of future results. All investing involves risk. Investment decisions should be based on your own goals, time horizon, and tolerance for risk. Due to various factors including changing market conditions and/or applicable laws, the content may no longer be reflective of current opinions or positions.